This video was sponsored by Panic Brand. Panic Brand provides arts and apparel to the modern meme machines of 2020 at not ridiculous prices. They have a wide selection of art and shirts that you can wear, so be sure to take a look at them. If you use a link in the description below, you'll get a discount, and your favorite YouTubers, High Tech Low Life, get some kickback so we can continue to provide quality content to you in the future. It's a good way to support your favorite creators.
This is Starlogical here, and I have for me one of my co-hosts, Hestia, who you may have heard was actually Tyrant 2 in the past podcast.
Hello.
And with us today, we have a special guest, and her name is Alamis.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So, welcome to the podcast, and how was your day today, y'all? What did you guys do during quarantine?
Hesty, would you like to go or I can go?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, Star already knows this, or Starlogical. Would you prefer I call you Star or Starlogical on this podcast?
Either or. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, Star already knows this, but I've been tidying up around the house because since we are all stuck primarily in the house, we have been tidying up. So I've been going through some of my belongings. And the other big thing I've been doing has been catching up on Law & Order Svu because I can't watch it while I'm at school. So I've been watching it at home.
Very nice, very nice. Order Svu is pretty good. It's on, for those of you that don't live in the US, it's on actually I wouldn't know where to find it.
I wouldn't know where to find it either. I just record it on my DVR and then binge it. But
What
I
about
know at least all of the old seasons are on Hulu. So if anyone wants to go back and watch some of the old seasons, go check that out on Hulu.
And what about you, Hestia? How are you?
I'm pretty good. I didn't do much today.
I see.
All I did was take a nap earlier.
Yeah. Naps are overrated. I mean underrated. They definitely should take a nap more often if you can.
Naps
Well,
are quite excellent.
I don't need them right now, but I might take a fat nap after like 11 or 12.
Imagine napping instead of just sleeping. This was brought to you by people who sleep, gang.
Do that noise. Now, let's start with our first topic of the day: the nature of spoiling media for others, aka, how do you feel about spoiling things for other people and being spoiled without consent, of course?
I'm very big on respecting other people, and I really hate spoilers. So I very much avoid spoiling when I can. I always ask how far someone is in the series before I tell them anything. I'm just not a fan of spoiling media for other people, and I really don't like it when people spoil media for me. It's less of a big deal for me than for some other folks, just because I'm usually in it for the ride rather than the result. So I'll still watch something even if I've been spoiled. But I have a couple of friends who just won't even watch anything if they've been spoiled. So I think it's just kind of mean to spoil things for other people.
All right, and what about you, Hestia? What is your opinion on spoiling and being spoiled?
Honestly, it sucked. But for example, when Endgame came out, the whole fake spoiler of
man.
Batman dies.
Wait, you said Did you say Batman?
Yes, there's this whole joke about everyone would say non-Marvel character dies in Endgame, just as kind of a meme. So stuff like that I'm okay with, but actual spoilers, your kneecaps are getting removed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's spoilers are a very iffy topic because I have a couple of IRL friends that are really bad about spoiling things. They're just, part of it is that they're just really excited about watching stuff and then sharing their experience, but then they spoil the crap out of stuff. I had a friend who I won't name because we're still good friends, who spoiled ReZero for a mutual friend of ours who watched it, and it was Oh man, it was because of it was because the newest episode promoted his ship, but he unintentionally spoiled it, which he gets a little overexcited. And it's hard to fault people for that when they're just so excited and they just want to, just let it out,
I mean, it's hard, but it's also just like learn some patience because they'll watch it eventually. And I'm just a very cautious and careful person. I try to be very empathetic when possible. So it just sort of rubs me the wrong way.
Well, speaking of spoilers, how much time do you give it before you just start spouting out spoilers like they're common knowledge? Like, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't put like something like spoiler alert for like a game that's like 20 years old, like Final Fantasy VII. That game is old.
No, usually with spoilers, I will, after about a year, I'm like, you should have seen it by now. I'll still ask if someone's seen it before I go into detail, but for the most part, after a year, I'm like, it's fair game.
What about you, Patsy? How long do you give it before you just start blurting out the spoilers like of common knowledge?
It depends on what it is. If it's something that's lesser known, then I probably there's it depends, really.
I usually give it about within my college friend group. I give it about 2 to 3 months before it becomes common knowledge. Otherwise, I'm gonna spoil the crap out of you. Dumbledore dies, by the way.
Bro,
Yo,
how could you do this? It's not like I've listened to the Harry Potter books on tape and read them like 20 times.
Or watch the movies.
Yeah, I watched the movies like once.
Okay, that's all you really need to do. And speaking of spoilers, this is vaguely related to spoilers. What do you feel about leaks of unreleased content? As of recently, The Last of Us 2 has been leaked and spoiled to heck. Besides the fact that the game's not even out for another month or so.
I mean, my thing in terms of leaks is that I pretty much just avoid them. Like, if I hear there's a leak, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I am going to avoid, reading or listening about that because I really like to experience things without spoilers. Really, all I've heard about The Last of Us 2 and leak spoilers is that it's apparently bad. That's what I've heard. And I'm not going to look into it anymore just because I would like to be surprised when the game comes out. So in terms of leaks, I honestly don't really care if they happen, but I just avoid them for myself because I like being surprised.
And what about you, Hestia? What is your thought on leaks in general?
I'm not big on them, just unless it's like a super minor thing, like. But even then, I don't really pay attention to them, or like if I hear there's a leak, I just tune out the conversation for the most part.
Yeah, as for me, leaks kind of suck, honestly, and it's almost the same as data mining. So a lot of online games are persistently online, and sometimes data gets stored inside of files. So what these data miners do is they explore these files to see if there's like hints of upcoming updates, like new content and whatnot. And turns out they planned on releasing this sweet new content that's not out yet, but it's not a surprise anymore because of data miners. And I'm not a huge fan, but it can't be prevented because these sorts of games are meant to be played so that you like optimize yourself. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic: the death of GameStop. So, as you know, GameStop, before the release of Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing, tried to label itself as essential. At the same level of like being a doctor or working in healthcare, being essential. And they're not essential anymore, as you can tell by the fact that they're all closed right now. But people often speculate that GameStop will, in fact, shut down or at least reduce in size dramatically, if not totally. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think this has been in the works for a while, to be honest. I mean, ever since Steam became a thing, I've been sort of waiting for GameStop to die. Just because I feel like the physical need for games has really decreased over the years. So, I mean, I don't think they'll close completely. I just think they'll probably downsize to have a lot less stores.
And what about you, Hestia? What is your thought?
I see. I don't have GameStop in Canada. We have EB Games, which is basically the same thing. But I
Aren't they
feel
owned
like
by aren't they owned by the same company?
I think so. But honestly, I think they're kind of going to go the way of like Toys R Us last year, where they just kind of mostly closed down. But I mean,
Yeah, that's
like physical copies of games aren't that important nowadays, except for like the Nintendo Switch, and that's basically it.
well, my personal opinion on physical games is that for those people who like to, buy games, resell them, or even loan them out to friends, they're still going to be there, and a lot of those people are on Nintendo consoles, as you alluded to. And I'm going to be quite frank. I'm not going to miss GameStop if they disappear. It's going to be weird not seeing them. I'm not. I'm going to admit it's going to be weird, but I'm not going to miss it at all.
I
I'm not.
think the real way for GameStop to survive, if they really do want to stay a physical store, is to sort of expand more into the board game market. I mean, they're still going to have to close down a lot of stores, but I know at least I'm a little bit into niche board games. I haven't gotten as into it as I would like because most of my friends are online, so I can't play the games I would like to play with them. But I'm very much into like story-based niche group board games, and stores which sell those will do really well as long as they're the only one in the area. So I think if GameStop maybe branches more into games which are physical, as in board games, then they might be able to survive.
So when you say story-based games, you mean D&D, right?
I mean D&D partially, but I'm forgetting the name of the game. But there's been this game on my wish list for a long time, which is a board game where you and a group of friends play as time travelers, and there are pre-written scenarios and a lot of puzzles, and it's basically D&D, but no one's the DM because the game provides the campaign for you.
I see. And well, that does sound pretty neat. Yeah, I do believe that GameStop is trying to go in that direction already. They're selling, physical merch for games, like they're selling Overwatch merchandise, a lot of it. They're selling Magic cards too, like MTG cards.
Yeah,
I
I
would,
mean, I think that's a good start, but I really do think that they should branch out a little bit more because I think unless they diversify, then they are going to go the way of Toys R Us, as Hestia said.
that said, though, I would not mind if they just disappeared and just left the board game stuff and left the like tabletop gaming and board game stuff to the local shops that already exist. I wouldn't want them to be cannibalized by GameStop. I mean,
No, I mean, I wouldn't want them to be cannibalized by GameStop either, but the thing is, at least in my area, the specialized board game stores are very far apart. And so I think if GameStop sort of triangulated where those aren't, because the nearest specialty board game shop is like 2 hours away from me. So if the GameStop, which is only 20 minutes away from me, decided to expand into board games, I think that they could do a fine profit without disrupting those local businesses. So I think as long as they triangulated responsibly, that it wouldn't be a problem.
all right. Any last thoughts for us, Hestia, before we move on?
I kind of agree with what Alamy said. Like, if they do want to survive, they should branch into more physical things other than just video games. But I don't know if they will stay afloat, because they were never really doing great to begin with.
I mean, it really depends on how well board games do here. I mean, yeah, you would. I mean, there are Hey, people play a lot less board games than they did in the past, but the fact of the matter is, the people that are really into like tabletop games like Warhammer and stuff, they're really into it. They spend like thousands of dollars. Like Henry Cavill only acts because he plays Warhammer and spends all of his money on Warhammer figurines. That's how expensive that stuff gets, apparently.
I mean, yeah, I know at least for me, I would say that there's a resurgence in tabletop games because as you know, as the internet and social media have gotten bigger, I think people have sort of hopped on that train, but then realized that it's not as engaging as in-person connection. So I think that board games have made a decent resurgence, not the largest resurgence, but we've seen the resurgence of D&D within the past 10 years, and I think the next step may be the resurgence of other story-based tabletop games that can be done in person.
All right. Well, all I'm gonna say is I'll see you on Scrabble. I'm gonna destroy you. I'm pretty good with my words.
I'm not playing Scrabble, but if you want to play the time travel adventures game, then that would be cool.
If you can find out what that is, I might consider it. Anyways, the next topic we have on hand is Super Mario 64 recently got a PC port, a native PC port too. And Nintendo is taking down all these fully compiled versions. And so the backstory behind this is that people reverse engineered Super Mario 64, and they ported the source code to PC, so it runs on PC natively. And I think that's really cool. And Nintendo is taking it down because a lot of these pre-compiled versions have Nintendo assets. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I don't really know that much about this game. So how old is this game that they've reverse engineered?
Super Mario 64 was released on the Nintendo 64, so it's around the mid-90s.
Yeah, I think Nintendo should just let it go then, honestly, because it's been long enough that it really shouldn't matter.
What about you, Hestia? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I kind of see it as like really Nintendo should realistically, instead of doing a PC port, maybe do a port to the Switch or something like that. But that's just my thoughts.
So my thoughts are Nintendo, due to copyright law, Nintendo is well within their rights to protect their IP, especially if it's for a game that used to cost like $60 back in the day. And while I don't necessarily agree that Nintendo should take action right now because it's such an old game, man. Where can you even buy it? You can't buy it anymore. You can't even play it anymore. There's no hardware that you can play it on that's being sold currently. And so, yeah, I do agree with Alanis and Hestia. They should just leave it alone, but they should also see the demand for this type of port and do release on the Nintendo 60 and do release on the Nintendo Switch at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna make a fuss about their assets, the least they could do is re-release it on a new platform where people can actually buy it.
I've played Super Mario 64. And it's a pretty good game. A lot of people consider it to be the best game on the Nintendo 64. I find that difficult to believe, but I mean, it's pretty good. Anyways, the next topic is something that you might all be interested in. VTubers, VR cam models, and the inevitable replacement of real people. So, as you know, VTubers are basically just anime avatars who are animated, and they're voiced by Japanese voice actors. They kind of do anime voices, and they just do things on YouTube. They're basically vloggers, but like anime. And sometimes they play video games too, and it's kind of funny too. And another big example that's been making waves is one called Project Melody. Do not look her up; it's 18+. But essentially, she's been outperforming all of the real women in the same website. So that was about a month ago. What are your thoughts on this?
I've been going first a lot, Hestia. Would you like to say something?
See, there's two sides to this where it's good and also bad. As it's good because, like, especially with this time, like, cam models are working a lot more than they would otherwise, which is very harmful to their health. So it's good on that front, but on the other side, it's replacing them so they don't have as much income as they used to. So
Sort of my feeling on VTubers and VR cam models and so on is sort of my general feeling about AI in general, where I don't like the idea that so many people are following and sort of almost like instinctively pack bonding with things which aren't human, because it's for VTubers and VR models, it's a business. It's not a real person, and you're sort of artificially attaching yourself to something which isn't human and can't reciprocate your feelings. Is just a performance, and it's how I feel about like with AI, in the fact of like if something isn't actually in and of itself an organic biological entity, it cannot have reciprocal feelings for you. And I at least for me, because I was a kid during the early days of YouTube, so I grew up with early YouTube, and that was all about really getting to know the individual content creator. And the reason that you subscribed to a channel was because you sort of felt that personal connection with that individual creator. So I just don't like VTubers because it's a performance. It's not that real person. And I it's like you're choosing to subscribe to and get to know a lie. And I just don't like that personally.
Well, I do understand where you're coming from, Alamis. Though I do feel like a lot of that whole subscribing to a person, an act and such, can almost apply to like actual YouTube celebrities, just actual people. Because behind all of these VTubers, it's not like an AI generated voice. It's actually someone behind the mic talking, and I almost feel that it's no different from like I hate to use the word, but simps behind like an e-girl. Like remember when the what's her face, Bernie Sanders girl or whatever got really popular, and everybody just kind of ignored her message, but they were like, "Wow, she's hot." But then she revealed that she had a boyfriend, and then all of a sudden, like all of her legions of fans started disappearing. And I feel as if though this has less to do with the fact that AI people are latching themselves onto AIs as much as it is people are just looking to escape reality. And I mean, there's actually a whole nation where you can see this whole situation happening in Japan. Japan has a negative birth rate. So, and if this birth rate were to continue, I'd have to reread the studies, but I believe like maybe 1,000 years. Don't quote me on this. I don't want to spread misinformation, but negative birth rate's really bad too. You know what I'm saying?
You were a little quiet on that last sentence. Could you repeat that?
So what I was saying is there's a whole nation where you can observe the effects of stuff like this in Japan, because Japan really takes their waifuisms really hard. They cling on to these non-animate characters. It's all a performance, so to speak.
Right.
And they have these massive shrines of merchandise, and these anime companies are just killing it, while Japan is killing off their birth rates. I see, and I see we have someone that's joined us. Welcome, Tyrant. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you.
So yeah, so VTube. So there's a really good movie that you should watch if you're interested in AIs and the implications on the world and whatnot. And this movie is called Blade Runner 2048. I don't know if you're really all of that into sci-fi, but I highly recommend it if you watch it.
I'm a busy bee, so I probably won't get to it, but I'll keep it in mind.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is streaming. How has streaming changed the cable landscape? And let's talk about internet data caps and their lack thereof during this quarantine. Any thoughts on this, Tyrant?
On the cable being affected by streaming.
Yes, by Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be affected by it since more people are utilizing streaming services, and I guess in comparison, I don't know how much. I haven't watched cable television in a while. Just there's not as much content as there is perhaps than what you can get from streaming services or what interests people. And perhaps depending on what kind of cable you have, it's probably more affordable for certain streaming services.
All right. Yeah, I understand. What about you, Hestia?
See, I haven't watched cable or satellite in years because streaming services just provide better content and don't have to DVR it or watch it at a specific time. You can watch it whenever, pick it up whenever. I feel it's just a better system.
And what about you, Alamise? What's your thought?
I mean, I think it's really a generational divide because most of the younger folks I know pretty much exclusively watch streaming services, whereas the older folks I know really are still using cable. So I think as long as I think we'll see cable stick around for at least 5 or 10 more years. But I think as more of the general population, our age is the majority of consumers, and as morbid as it is, as older consumers die off, I think we are going to see a reduction in the number of cable channels, if not cable dying altogether. But I don't think that's going to happen for another 10 years or so, if not more.
I see. So my thoughts on this is that yes, streaming is much better because you can choose to watch content on demand. Instead of waiting at 5 p.m. or whatever to watch The Office, you can just watch The Office whenever you want. And it's a godsend for that reason alone. However, I feel as though having exclusive content on this platform, exclusive content on that platform, really just almost defeats the purpose. And eventually, some big company is going to have this grand idea to bundle all of these services into one package. And you know what that reminds me of? Cable, because that's what they did in cable.
It'll be cable too, but online streaming. So it'll be cable, but all of our seasons are dropped at once.
Yes, and in fact, there's already a company that's doing that. I should mention it's called VRV, and they include some cartoon channels, Crunchyroll if you watch anime, Funimation, watch dubbed anime, and I
think they removed Funimation.
What? What'd you say?
I thought they removed Funimation from VRV. I thought it was something called High Dive.
I'm not. I don't follow VRV because I don't really support the business model of that. And
Right.
honestly, and I think one of the biggest reasons why people bought Netflix to begin with was because everything was there and it was only $10 a month. Now there's much less content than there was before, and Netflix is more expensive. And so if I have to sign up for Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Crunchyroll, Daisuke, YouTube Prime, no, not YouTube Prime, Amazon Prime, YouTube Red, or what is it, YouTube Red or YouTube Premium now?
I have no idea.
I think it's premium.
So stupid.
I'm never going to get YouTube Red. There's nothing on there that I want to watch.
Yes, literally.
I'll use to get rid of ads.
But if I wanted to buy if I wanted to have access to all of the content, I'd be paying like 70, 80, no, maybe $100, and that's almost as much as cable. And realistically, I'm not going to watch all that content, especially Netflix, since a lot of Netflix's content is just kind of, aside from the original content that might be good, like Black Mirror, it's not really, or The Witcher, it's not really worth watching.
I will say Netflix is putting out a lot of good original content. And I like some of the older shows that they have on there. They have Total Drama Island on there right now, so that's fun.
I've never watched Total Drama Island before, honestly.
It's a good show.
That said, I don't really agree. I don't really agree with what's happening to streaming services as a whole. I just think that streaming, it should be an all-in-one convenient place to get stuff. Otherwise, people are just gonna, piracy numbers went down because of how convenient Netflix was. People in the West at least are willing to support creators, provided that they make it easy enough to do so. But if things go the way that I predict they will, then piracy is just going to be the better option overall. You get to choose what you want, and I guess you don't have to pay for it as well. But I mean, it's mostly just the convenience factor.
I
And
think what's going to happen is that people are just, until we see a new good, cheap, comprehensive bundle, people are going to be picking and choosing their services and then pirating whatever is left on whatever extra platforms there are. Because right now, I have a Netflix and Hulu account, and that's about all. And if there's something else on another platform I want to watch, I'm either going to get a friend's login, or if I'm desperate enough, I'm just going to go online and find it.
Yeah, I mostly concur with that statement. And I have Amazon Prime mostly only because my family uses it to order stuff and get 2-day free shipping. And the video part is just kind of an afterthought. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic. And what's your gaming setup, everyone?
Do you mean in terms of specs?
Yes, in terms of specs. I mean, just describe your table settings and your specs and such.
If I were to describe mine, I have a 48-inch desk. I have a dual monitor setup. Both are 1080p, and in terms of computer specs, I have a GeForce GTX 970 for my graphics card, an Intel Core i5 4690K for my CPU, 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM at 1600 megahertz, one SSD at 250 gigabytes, and another hard drive for my games at 1 terabyte. And I have Windows 10 as an operating system.
Very nice, very nice. What about you, Hestia?
I just have a cell phone and a Nintendo Switch.
I see.
Heck yeah, you playing Animal Crossing?
No, I didn't get it.
Oh no.
Oh my god. What about you, Alamis? What's your gaming setup?
Well, for those of you who are frequently visiting Hedgehog's channel, which I cameo on, by the way, plug time, you will know that I have a Mac because I am the So I have a Mac, and that's pretty self-explanatory. But it's a MacBook Pro. It's back from 2017. Has a 3.1 gigahertz Intel Core and 16 gigabytes of memory. And it's not great, but it did the job back when I bought it, and it does at least the business side of things now. And I can still run fairly new games when they are optimized for Mac. But the next computer I'm getting is definitely going to be a PC.
Is it going to be a gaming PC or just like a thin and light?
It'll either be a gaming PC or somewhere in the middle, just because I do want to be able to run games. But I'm not the biggest gamer. I prefer more story-driven indie titles to anything. So either a gaming laptop or somewhere in between.
Fair. My gaming setup is a little simpler than most of y'all's. I do own all of the current consoles now, including the Nintendo Switch. And so let's get that out of the way. I have a capture card, which I can use. I've only used it to record my Nintendo Switch gameplay so far. And I also have a gaming desktop, which has an Intel Core i7 8700K overclocked to about 4.5 gigahertz on liquid cooling. And I've got 16 gigs of RAM, which I do plan on upgrading to 32 gigs. I have a 512 gigabyte SSD for like my applications, my mostly used applications, such. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive for basically everything else, including gaming.
Nice.
And I have a 1070, and I got that one actually used for $200, which is the used graphics card market is severely underrated. You guys should take advantage of it if you're looking to upgrade your 900 series GPUs, or even your 700 if you have them still. And my monitor, I have one ultra wide monitor. It's 34 inches. It's a 21 by 9 1440p monitor that I want to get a second one of. But that one cost $1,000, and I got it when it first came out. And I mean, I want to get 2 monitors so I can do video editing properly. Not saying that I haven't been doing it properly before, but I need one screen to edit on and one screen to monitor my stuff. And I'm hoping I can buy DaVinci Resolve. I don't know what you guys use to edit, but that's what I use to edit, and it's pretty sweet.
I just use iMovie because I have a Mac.
What does Hedgehog use?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, one of the big reasons I got a Mac was because it has iMovie and GarageBand already. So
Nice.
That was, a lot of people are like, herder Macs are bad. And like, yeah, I agree. They aren't great for running games or software, but it already has iMovie and GarageBand. And for someone who was going into art school, that was pretty important.
Sweet. Anyways, next topic is social media and how it destroys your perception of reality. What are your thoughts?
I don't really use a lot of social media besides from Twitter and like if you count Reddit, but
Reddit
what?
I would count Reddit as social media as well.
I'm not sure if I'd count it as social media because it's a little bit more anonymous and it's more of a forum. So I'm not sure I would count it.
I use it about like every day or so. I use Reddit more. Once in a while, I may use Twitter, but I've really noticed what you define as like messing with like perceptions of reality. I just use it like check out my favorite content creators, news, history, like just various topics.
I do want to say something. When I say destroys your perception of reality, I mean so the most typical use of social media, namely Facebook and Instagram, is to post all of your happy moments.
Oh.
But let's say that you're someone on the outside looking in. All you see is all of their great moments. All of the they got married, they have kids, they went to like on vacation overseas, and see all these wonderful moments. And, you don't see the negatives. They present themselves in such a way that they're living basically the perfect life. And while there's nothing wrong necessarily with that, I just feel that a lot of people are negatively impacted because of there's a lot of mental illness because they see all of their former friends are really happy because they're really happy, but all they do is just pick and choose the happy moments.
All right.
It's like looking at a yearbook when the yearbooks are just the good times, but they never depict the bad times, the times when you're really like struggling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my thoughts on social media. And what about Shu, Hestia, or Alamis? Whoever wants to go first.
Hestia, why don't you go ahead? Because I have thoughts, but I don't. I can say them last because I have many.
Okay. I honestly kind of just left all social media for the most part. And I only have like a few apps, and I just use them mostly for communication. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I have more social media than most folks here, it seems. I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I have 2 Twitters, I have what else do I have? Yeah, so I have some social media, and I mean, I think since I grew up as social media was being created, I sort of already knew to sort of take everything with a grain of salt. Because I feel like younger generations are in more danger of sort of depression because of seeing this positive cherry picking, whereas literally I think you had to be like 12 to get a Facebook account or something, and all my friends started getting them in like 6th grade. So by that point, I had already developed critical thinking skills, thankfully. And if you grow up actually knowing the people who are posting on Facebook alongside you, and you go, okay, this is not an accurate depiction of their life. So I really think it just comes with good social media education. And I really think that that's just something that hopefully parents and schools are teaching younger kids now. Because I think our generation has less of a problem with that.
And to that, I would say that as the current establishment that's there, they don't really quite understand social media the way we do, because as you said, we grew up and social media was being made, and we know what it is innately. So I feel like until we get to the point where we're the teachers now, I don't think the good education is going to happen anytime soon. And how many of you guys use your social medias to keep up with your old friends? I know that despite the fact that on my personal Facebook, I'm still friends with many people, I haven't updated my profile picture in about 8 or 9 years. It's almost been a decade, actually. Wow.
I haven't. I don't talk to anyone since high school. I'm pretty much by myself, with the exception of like people I met online. Even in most of them are not on my social media.
I see. And personally, there's a lot of people that I was very good friends with in high school, but I do wish I could talk to them again, but it's kind of difficult to just approach them and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Because we're very different people than we were almost 7-8 years ago, and I think we've like almost moved on from this point as well.
Well, I didn't use Facebook for a long time because Facebook is dead, as we all know. For our generation, at least, it's mostly for people in their 30s through 60s at this point. But I ended up having to get back on Facebook because a lot of the extracurricular groups at my college post on Facebook, and a lot of my college's like career development center and like the writing center and like the college itself post a whole bunch on Facebook. So I had to get back on Facebook for extracurricular and business reasons. And also because I'm an actor, and a lot of actors are in that, older age range. And so you sort of have to be on Facebook if you're in the that sector of the entertainment business. So I am on Facebook, a good deal. I updated my profile picture when I got new headshots. I post not that many updates, but I'd say maybe 4 or 5 a year, but I pay attention to other people's posts. And I would say that social media has helped in keeping in contact with my high school friends, because I don't think I would have stayed in contact with some of the folks that I still talk to now if it wasn't for like Facebook and Snapchat streaks and Instagram. Because what I sort of like about social media in that sense is that you can have sort of a more casual working relationship and talking, socialization relationship with your friends, because I don't feel like having in-depth conversations with my old high school friends a lot of the time, but I'm up to congratulating them on whatever their latest achievement is and being like, great job. I'm glad that this happened. And it's sort of nice to keep up with them in that way. And as long as you have that casual relationship still open, I find that it's easier to reinitiate a conversation when you want to. Like some of those folks that I just like their photos and stuff. If I see them doing something particularly interesting, I'll like message them and we'll have a conversation for a while. So I do think that social media is really useful in that sense.
You'll have to excuse me for one moment. You guys can keep talking for the time being right now. Is it okay? I'm going to excuse myself.
No problem.
Okay. So I guess on the social media front, do any of you guys have Snapchat? What are your thoughts on Snapchat?
I do not use Snapchat. I have no idea what to think about it.
Hestia, do you have Snapchat?
I do, and I only really use it for one of my friends to send me pictures of her bird.
Fair enough. Yeah,
It's a cute bird.
Nice. I use Snapchat mostly just for streaks, and the thing I like about streaks is that you just send one photo per day, and if anything particularly interesting has happened that day, then you can just write about it in your streaks, and you can also just watch the stories of the friends you're close to. So it's sort of the way that I've kept up with some of my old friends without having to like consistently start a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Because like one of my old high school friends, whose name I won't mention, but they've adopted a ton of pets, and we don't really talk, but I watch their stories a lot, and every now and then I'll comment, and like I wouldn't even have known that they have a fiance and that they have like 5 cats and a puppy and 3 snakes if I hadn't been able to talk with them over Snapchat, because they don't really post on anything else. So I do think social media is really positive in that aspect and allowing you to maintain sort of your outer circle of acquaintances.
I'm back.
Hello.
I haven't used Snapchat in a good amount of time. All the people I knew from high school, I guess, kind of grew out of it. I think comes with being my age. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so let's move on with the next topic. Hidden gems. What are some pieces of media, whereas it's a video game and a TV show? What's something that's really obscure that you enjoy, and why do you enjoy it?
I don't think I have anything that I like that's considered really obscure. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know if anything I like is that obscure. I'm sort of a mainstream person. I guess what I will say is if anyone out there is looking for sort of a fun, weird indie game, check out Kentucky Route Zero. It's quite a good game.
I've heard of that. I haven't played it yet. I'm into a lot of really obscure stuff. I like shoot 'em ups. I'm sure you've played them, right? They're like space shooters. You control a ship. You move up, down, left, right. You just keep shooting and dodge bullets and not die.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy those. Those are always fun. And the ones from Japan are really insane in terms of like how many bullets they can fit in one screen.
Was there another term for those? Was there another term for those types of games, like bullet hell or something?
Yes, bullet hell.
Yeah, bullet hell sounds right.
Yeah, because that's what it is, and those are fun. I'm also into fighting games too. And while fighting games, I wouldn't say are niche by any stretch of the imagination, they're really niche among people that play video games for whatever reason. They're not popular, I guess, because it's difficult for people to wrap their heads around it when, they want to play online and all of a sudden they play against some guy that's been playing Street Fighter 2 in his mom's basement for like 20 years now.
I don't know. I think the other thing about fighting games is that most of them are really just like 2-person, and I know to me that doesn't really appeal to me. The reason I like a lot of multiplayer games that are coming out these days is like DBD is for 5 people, Resident Evil, the new multiplayer mode is for 5 people. I like that you can play with a larger friend group.
That is true. That is true. Fighting games are typically people only, and I mean, like Smash is 4 players, and I think 8 players at most now.
Yeah, on the Switch it's 8.
That's pretty cool, I guess. And I think, and a lot of the more popular games online now are like team based, and there's like a lot of people playing. Like League of Legends, what used to be the most popular game in the world for like 5 or 10 years now. Well, the most popular game on Twitch, I should say, rather, is
I played
5v5.
League of Legends in middle school. I'll live up to it. I used to play League of Legends.
Oh no!
League of Legends.
Oh, nerd. Oh, no.
No!
Oh, no, it's a nerd.
Yeah, I was never very into it, but I had a lot of friends who liked it. So I eventually played just to appease my friend group, and I mostly mained supports.
Ugh, supports.
I mean, I did also main Nasus because he was really easy. So I played Nasus a lot.
Not playing as a jungler or bot or top laner.
I'm definitely not a top laner, but no, I am a support in life, and I am also a support in video games because I'm just a responsible human. So
Support mains are important. Let's be real.
I am a DPS because I am a jerk. And I just love killing people.
listen, I love being able to play a good damage dealing champion, but the problem is any other time I had to play with someone else who was a support, I could have done leagues better. So I just mained supports because I was like, I'm tired of dealing with bad supports. I'll just be the support.
Oh my god, she is a league player.
I can relate to that because, like, I often play support roles, but also sometimes I kind of, because my team is just constantly getting killed, I play my support as a DPS, and then top the leaderboard on both halves.
Nice.
Nice.
If you guys like League, you should check out it's sort of dead now, I think, but Vainglory used to be a thing.
Isn't that on mobile?
Yeah, that's why I really liked it. I played that a lot in my early days of high school because it's a mobile game which is basically League of Legends except with a smaller map.
Yeah, I played a league clone on mobile too. It was called Arena of Valor. It was made by Tencent, who, as you know, owns Riot 100%. And they had some characters like like there's like I think there's like a law there must be some sort of law in MOBAs where every MOB must have some kind of Sun Wukong or Monkey King.
It
Because
just be like that sometimes.
from the most popular Chinese novel of all time, Journey to the West. Goku from Dragon Ball Z is based on him, very loosely. That is. The next topic at hand is: you ever heard of G2A before?
No, I have not.
That sounds familiar.
So, to clarify, G2A is a website where you can buy gray market keys for consoles or primarily PC, but you can buy gray market consoles. You can buy and sell your keys that you're not using and make some money off of it. And so there have been some ethical concerns about that, primarily due to the fact that what some people do is they use stolen credit card numbers to buy these keys, and they dump them on G2A, and people buy them. And sometimes companies will will do chargebacks. No, the people whose cards are stolen will often do chargebacks, and as a result, these chargebacks end up hurting developers because they have to pay for the credit card fees.
Wow.
And so, what are your thoughts on this? On such an immoral way to get cheap games?
Well, I think you said it best. It's certainly not a good thing.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, y'all?
I mean, my thing in the first place is that I really don't love the idea of buying multiple Steam keys in the first place, or multiple keys for games. I just like to buy my game and have it for myself. Or if I'm going to gift a game to someone, then I'll buy it on sale, or I'll buy a unique copy. I don't really like the whole, like, let me buy a game and then sell it to make money. But c'est la vie de la capitalism. So, morally, I don't love it, but it's not like I think it should be made illegal or anything.
Well, I'll admit, I've gotten some games from G2A for really cheap. Like, I bought Dead Rising 2 for $1 on G2A when it's never been sold for $1. And I still have the key to that game, I believe. I want to wait. You know what? Let me double check right now to make sure that it wasn't just taken from me. Nope, I still got it. Now, should I feel bad for it? Kind of, but at the same time, a lot of the bigger companies, anyways, can absorb these costs, so to speak. I'm not saying they should, but they can. Now, as for indie developers, a lot of them apparently say that you should, if you can't afford to buy their games, but if you really want to, you should just pirate it instead. Piracy would be a preferable option for them, it seems. And so, there isn't really much to say about that anymore, is there? Have you given your thoughts, Hestia?
I understand why it exists, but I also don't like that it exists.
I think that if they can, I think that people. I mean, a lot of these have to do with the fact that a lot of the credit cards are stolen. I think a service where you can sell your legitimate CD keys that you're not using anymore. That you have, like, if you have the ability to sell them, you should. Yeah, otherwise, they're just going to go on eBay anyways, right? Now, G2A should do more cracking down on whether or not these cards are in fact stolen, but the fact of the matter is they're not going to do that. And if your game is taken away from you because you bought it on G2A and they deactivate the key, meaning that they remove the game from your Steam account, then it's no one else's fault but your own. But I do believe G2A should be held liable for when stuff like that happens, at the very least. I think that would increase people's trust in them if they were willing to shoulder some of the liability without you paying for their stupid insurance or whatever. Without you paying for their guarantee. And all right, well, there isn't very much to say on that topic. Let's talk about works that have totally different that were totally different in concept compared to their final product. So, do you guys know of The Legend of Zelda?
Yes.
No, I've been living under a rock my whole life.
So you know the Triforce, right? 3 golden triangles created by the goddesses. Nehru. I forget the rest of their names.
Dude, we just talked about spoilers earlier this episode.
It's not a spoiler.
It's literally base level lore.
Base level lore for Ocarina of Time it's old. It's an old game. Anyways, there are 3 golden triangles with the ability to grant whatever wish you want. Originally, in the concept for both the original Legend of Zelda and A Link to the Past, the Triforce were supposed to be computer chips. And in A Link to the Past, instead of going to the Dark World, you would go to the future instead and collect the Triforce there. And there was supposed to be a lot more sci-fi. There was supposed to be a lot more sci-fi stuff in Zelda, at least before Breath of the Wild came out. And is there anything that's radically changed from concept to realization that you want to talk about?
I think what one I can remember was the development of Doom 2016. I remember reading or seeing something that before it was released, it went through multiple concepts that it was almost resembled like Call of Duty or something before its final execution. Because the previous version was if that version would have come out, it would have had a lot of negative reviews. because of it didn't look much like a Doom game, or at least as like something I can think of.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Do you know of anything of the sort, Hestia?
No, not
I
really.
see. And what about you, Alamis? Anything like any movies, video games, such and such, books?
Off the top of my head, no. I don't usually look into concepts. I usually just run with the finished thing and appreciate it for what it is.
What about behind the scene? What about behind the scenes things, or like things that the author wished they would have changed? Because I remember our Harry Potter spoilers off the table now. I'm gonna go ahead and this is gonna talk about some spoilers in the last book, namely the very last few chapters.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, so Hestia, Tyrant, are you okay with Harry Potter spoilers?
I've read all the books, including the one that no one talks about.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I've never seen Harry Potter.
So you all know how Harry Potter ended up with Ginny.
Who's Ginny?
Yes.
Ron's sister.
If you'd read Harry Potter, you'd know this.
I never got into it.
Oh God, we're spoiling it for Tyrants.
I don't care.
I guess
Yeah, well, it's fine. He'll probably never get
that's
into
fair.
it. So.
Yeah, so I remember J.K. Rowling expressed regret that she didn't hook Harry Potter up with Hermione instead, and that was like
False.
a year. That was a year after.
Wrong. J.K. Rowling. Okay, my thing is, after J.K. Rowling stopped writing the books, everything she has said since then, I do not accept as canon. That lady has gone off the rails. I do not accept anything she says as canon anymore. J.K. Rowling has been divorced from the work she wrote because Cursed Child was a train wreck. Everything she says on Twitter about Harry Potter is a train wreck. So I refuse to listen to her.
Are you sure, man? It sounds really plausible that wizards just didn't have bathrooms back then, and they would just
they just shit wherever they wanted.
And they covered it with magic.
And then they zoomed it away with magic, which makes no sense, because if that was the case, then Dumbledore wouldn't have looked for a chamber pot in book 4. So J.K. Rowling should reread her own books.
Yeah, remember when J.K. Rowling tried to say that she never said Hermione was white?
I forget where it was, but I'm 90% sure that in one of the books she mentions Hermione's pale skin.
Yes.
So
yes, I think it's in the second book as well.
It's not mentioned often.
Can you believe that her own books are like some sort of chamber of secrets that J.K. Rowling forgot how to access?
It just makes me sad. And I am very passionate about Harry Potter. So here's what I will say. Harry's first crush was on Cho Chang. You know what Cho Chang is? A jock. Harry would not fall in love with Hermione because Harry likes jocks. And Ginny is a jock. Why? Because she plays Quidditch and she's dope as hell. So no, Harry should not get with Hermione.
You know, you're not wrong.
And you know who Hermione should have gotten with? Victor Crumb! I will not rest until the world accepts that Hermione should have gotten with Victor Crumb.
Who's Ron gonna get with then?
No one. Ron deserves to die alone.
Ron can get with one of those French girls from the 4th book.
Yeah, honestly, Ron should get with some random chick from Beauxbaton. I literally do not care.
Oh my god, this talk reminds me of freaking Shaman King. Have any of you ever watched the anime or like read the manga?
No.
No.
All right, then I'm not gonna mention it. It's stupid.
I don't know. Ron is a good character, and I like him as a person. However, his chemistry with Hermione, terrible. It took him 4 books to realize that she was a woman. And when she said she had a date to the ball, he laughed at her and mocked her and then was a sulky boy when she got with Victor Crumb. Victor Crumb, the international Quidditch player, and he thinks he's better than Victor Crumb, who literally cared for Hermione because of her brains and recognized that she was pretty before anyone else did. I'm sorry, Ron is a dumb simp while Victor Crumb is a Chad. And she should not have ended up with Ron.
The virgin Ron Weasley versus the Chad Victor Crumb.
Literally.
Someone
Okay,
make
rant done. I'm very
Wait.
passionate about Harry Potter.
Remember when Harry Potter wasn't full of J.K. Rowling saying stupid stuff on Twitter, like how Dumbledore and Grindelwald were like I forget what was I gonna say with that?
They were gay lovers, yes.
Yes, and they've had like sex a number of times.
Listen,
Like no one is
that thing, Dumbledore is gay, I buy it. I see it. But the whole, now that she's like erasing it, I'm like, really? Like, she literally just said Dumbledore was gay to get clout. And then as soon as she had the opportunity to write that into the Crimes of Grindelwald and the whole Fantastic Beasts trilogy, she was like, you know what? Maybe he wasn't. And I just
maybe he wasn't. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe he wasn't gay for Grindelwald because Grindelwald's a like massive criminal.
He was gay for Grindelwald when he was 17 or however old he was when he met Grindelwald, okay? In the books, Grindelwald is described as super handsome, and Dumbledore was a lone boy who was in the middle of nowhere and probably closeted. And then this blonde stud shows up who's as smart as him. You know Dumbledore got it on with Grindelwald, okay?
Why didn't you get it on with Victor Crumb?
Because he was old by then.
Fucking freaking! Oh my god,
Ugh.
J.K. I hate her so much.
I
used to think she was really respectable back in the day too, because she would always talk about how she paid her taxes and stuff. Now she wanted to support the welfare system that got her out of like poverty and being literally homeless.
Yeah, she used to be very, very, quite a decent person, and then she went off on Twitter after she finished the books, and I'm sorry, but J.K. Rowling is divorced. She is disowned from her child, the Harry Potter series. I refuse to believe anything she says is canon.
Okay, all right. So now let's talk about. Here's a new topic to talk about that I definitely did not write down. Let's talk about how rich people are. How people, when they become so rich, they become divorced from reality. Like Notch. You know who
Yes.
Notch is, right?
No, I have no idea who this is.
He created Minecraft.
Okay.
And he sold Mojang to Microsoft and made a handsome
Yeah.
$billion or so dollars. And all he does on Twitter now is waste away his talent by just ranting about conspiracy theories on Twitter. And now he's so rich and he doesn't have anything to do. He doesn't have to work for anything anymore. And it's a reminder that real people, that the rich don't live in the same world as us. I mean, I hate to say it because I want to be rich too, but what are your thoughts on this? Like the rich people can basically do whatever they want. I talked with someone that was super rich like a few years ago, and they told me about how they paid for a quote unquote $200 convenience fee. You know what the convenience fee was? They parked in a handicap parking spot.
That's messed up.
It's crazy, man.
I don't know. Rich people literally have just, they have so much money and they are no longer running into social circles with like people who actually work for a living, that I do think that they can just lose touch with reality. See Elon Musk for an example. But
oh my god, Elon Musk is a psychopath. Oh my god.
the hyper rich, they're wild to me. And their politics are even wilder because, and I can't even blame them for their politics because they just don't even realize how bad people in poverty have it because they're so used to being in their bubble.
Yeah.
If Mr. Tesla wants to throw me a couple $1 million, like 1% of his paycheck, I'd be more than willing to take it off of his hands and never pay it back.
Listen, if Mr. Musk wants to give me a free Tesla, I will no longer shit talk him ever again.
But
he has to do that first.
My brother owns a Tesla. He bought it earlier this year, actually. and it's featured on this YouTube channel that you're watching this podcast on. Actually, it's a little teaser.
Nice.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Like Elon Musk. So have you heard about how like he wants to move Tesla out of California primarily because California won't let him open up his factories?
No, not really.
I try to not listen to anything about Elon Musk these days, to be honest.
Well, that's what he's doing. He's going to move to either Texas or Nevada to do that. And while, my state, Virginia, is opening up on Friday for phase 1, many other states are not because they're more populous population centers. Like New York is like ground zero in America.
Yeah, New York should not be opening for a long time.
It's crazy stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, the rich can do a lot of things. Like if they want to evade tax, all they have to do is transfer their money to a Swiss bank account, and their deposits don't get taxed to there. That's why the rich have Swiss bank accounts, and that's why they also have like illegal Cayman Island accounts. Like I worked at Wells Fargo a number of years ago, and there was a lot of people establishing corporations in the Cayman Islands where there can't be that many businesses in the Cayman Islands. And I'm not going to say much more because it violates client it violates a lot of things for me to say more. But I'm just going to say a lot of people really love making businesses there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, next topic. Skills you picked up in quarantine. Have you learned any new skills in quarantine? Have you done anything in quarantine? Did anything change for the better?
I guess not just change for the better for me at least, and it's actually a skill I'm learning currently. I'm thinking about learning a new language, which I'm going to work on.
What language?
What language?
Russian.
Ooh, Russian sounds nice. What about you, Hestia? Have you learned any new skills? Have things changed for the better?
Oh, definitely not.
Have they changed for the worse? Did you catch the Rona?
Oh no, not in that sense of worse. But podcast is not the place for that.
That's fair. What about you, Alamis?
I have learned nothing new because I am just living life as usual. To be honest, this is basically how I live anyway, except I can't see some of my in-person friends in person.
Well,
but besides that, it's like pretty much 80% how I normally live my life.
Well, being that I am an essential worker and I work in hospitals, I am still living. I'm still working on the front lines to get these machines up and running so that people.
What do you mean you're still living? You're making this podcast while you're alive? Star, I'm so disappointed.
Dude, what? That's wild.
Anyway, so yes, I am still alive, and I am still working in hospitals in the front lines in order to fix these machines so that they can get back to patients as soon as possible.
That's nice.
And it's a little scary for us in the front lines because, we're always 2 steps away from dying, and there's a lot of scare too, and a lot of people are really scary in the fact that they don't want to wear masks because it's my body. You can't tell me what to do with it. Like, no, your rights end where mine begins. Wear your mask and shut up. I don't care if you have an allergy to your masks. Don't take them off until you're at least 6 feet away from me. Like,
well, I mean, I care if they have an allergy to their mask if it's severe, but for the most part, you can't really prove you have that allergy. So, I see where you're coming from.
Like, I don't mean to be rude to anyone that might have like allergies to like surgical masks and stuff, but it's for your own good. For your own good. And people say that masks don't prevent the germs from getting in, but what they don't realize is that masks prevent germs from getting out. And if everyone's wearing a mask, then there should be no spreadage of germs. Meaning that if everyone wears a mask, there shouldn't really be a need for social distancing or the 6 feet rule. If everyone complies with wearing a mask, it would be a lot easier.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not sure that wearing a mask would stop everything completely because it's not wearing a mask is not going to cover up the air that escapes if you're coughing really hard or something like that, because there are still cracks in the mask.
That is true.
So,
That's true.
it's a good precaution, but I don't think that we should say that masks are a substitute for social distancing.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I was a little overzealous in saying that. Though I do want to give my shout out to many of the people that are working as doctors and patients. My sister works as a doctor, and her husband works not as a doctor, but he still works in a hospital, and it's really difficult for them too because my sister just gave birth to her first son last year, and due to this whole coronavirus situation, she ended up letting my mom take care of her kid for the time being, at least until this whole thing like blows over, or she gets some time to just really not have to work for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And it's a difficult situation because the kid's only is less than a year old. Actually, the baby boy actually almost turns 1 year old this coming Saturday. As of this recording, he turns 1 year old on May the 16th, I think. And it's supposed to be a really special year in Vietnamese culture. I don't know. It's just really difficult for parents of really young kids. Because really young kids have to wonder why their mom and dads aren't hugging them and stuff.
Yeah.
I just wish. I mean, I just hope that this whole thing just resolves itself eventually. Like, hopefully sooner than later, but we'll take whatever we can get.
It's probably going to be later rather than sooner. I don't think that we're going to see things really become safer until mid-June.
That is fair. Now, I have another question for y'all. What do you guys think aliens look like? What do you think the first aliens are going to be? Who do you think is going to come here first? Because while there's no proof of aliens existing or the fact that we've come across any real aliens, I just cannot believe that in this vast universe that exists, there aren't at least one other species capable of interstellar travel. I mean, how can that be?
I guess, in my opinion, I don't think aliens will look like anything that you would see then in contemporary modern pop culture. It's like, I would imagine that depending on the circumstances of a planet where such life were to evolve on, I think it would look almost completely different from that of Earth-based life. I think I have an example that you've heard of. There's a book called Expedition made by Wayne Douglas Barlow that is on the subject of extraterrestrial life, and the life that's presented in the book looks absolutely nothing like, barely like anything you'd see from Earth. And it's like, I think that's almost like closest that I mean, we have no idea, but I'm saying like theoretically very close to what alien life could potentially resemble if we were to see it. It would not look anything like based on Earth. It would have entirely different like paths of evolution.
You say that it looks nothing like what we would see on Earth, but what does it look like is my question. I guess I'd have to read the book to find out.
I guess in like they have the anatomical structures are different, and like how the life evolved, it has like a different atmosphere, different like.
Yeah, and the other thing is that sort of jumping off this thing with that Tyrant saying is like anatomically they could be completely different. Like we're all carbon-based life forms, but on other planets, life may not be based in carbon. So
life forms. Honestly,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm saying I think it also like I said, it also depends on not just whether it be based on carbon or like silicon. It can also be based on the atmosphere, the amount of gravity, how close a planet is to its star, depending on its just like the size of the planet itself.
I personally think we just have a very primitive understanding of physics and everything. Because humans have existed for a million years,
1,000 years.
A couple thousand years?
200,000 years Homo sapiens have existed.
Well, if evolution were to be believed, then I guess we would be. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that line of logic, but yeah, I would like to see aliens come here. I would like to meet the aliens. Hopefully, they're not going to kill us all. I don't want them to kill us all. I would love to meet the aliens. I'd love to get them on this channel as a guest. They would have to replace Alamis though, since she's our guest, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
That's fine, you know. I'll do it for the aliens.
No, but really though, I find it difficult to believe that we live in this infinitely expanding universe, and we haven't come across a single alien in our 200,000 years of history.
I think what I'd like to say on this topic is that yes, our universe is super vast, but I think it's entirely possible just because of the number of universes out there and the number of dimensions and timelines out there, that we could be living in a timeline, in a dimension, in a universe where we are the most evolved life form out there. Like, yes, it's unlikely, but it's possible. And I think it's also possible that whatever societies are, and whatever alien life forms are highly intelligent and highly developed, maybe aren't that far ahead of us and are exceedingly far away. So it's entirely possible that we won't make contact with intelligent life for a long time. I think it far more likely that the first aliens we'll encounter is that as space travel from our planet continues to get better, we'll probably run into microscopic alien organisms before we run into any intelligent life.
That does make sense. Hesty, I haven't heard you say anything on this topic. Do you have any opinions on this?
I mean, we won't know until we know. And who knows when we'll know.
Your audio is kind of muffled, my friend. Can you have to repeat that?
I mean, we don't know until we find out, so really, who knows?
That's fair. I mean, yeah, we really don't know. All we're really doing is speculating. We're pulling out theories, some which have no real basis in actuality, but have a basis in just what could be happening. It's just a lot, and
yeah.
It could be very possible that Alamis might be right. We could encounter microscopic aliens, bacteria from Mars or something. I mean, I think they could discover that stuff because there's water on Mars.
I think they say a likely candidate is Europa.
What'd you say?
I think a likely candidate of microscopic life is Europa. I think one of the moons of either Jupiter or Saturn.
That is true. There is microscopic life there, but I think it would be interesting for us to come to an alien planet. And we see aliens living they're living primitive lives. They have rudimentary implements. They have the ability to make tools.
Yeah,
but it's very rudimentary. They're basically the cavemen of aliens.
That's exactly what the book Expedition covers.
Ooh.
They have it. They have their. The planet has its own alien species that's almost in the stages of using stone tools.
That does sound very interesting. It is getting kind of late, and unfortunately, we haven't had the time to cover all of the topics. But I think we covered plenty. And thank you all for watching this, and please like and subscribe, and please continue to support us so that we can continue to make this content for you guys. And I hope to see you guys later. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.